We will review what it's like to fly on a Dreamliner comparative to an Airbus A350.
Gotta say, regardless if she's an A350, she is a beaut. Alright, shut up. Time to hop on.
British Airways operates their Dreamliners on a 333 economy class configuration, with each seat being 17.5 inches wide. Now these seats are actually not that bad, and the legroom was also pretty decent. I think it was better than it was on the A350, and I can also appreciate the wide, large windows with the window dimmers, but on another review I also reviewed that there are things I don't like about the window dimmers. If you didn't watch that review on the American Airlines 787, I recommend you do right now, but you don't have to. Anyways, I'm looking forward to this flight, and I can't wait to take off. Now, on this flight, there was a sick passenger, so we taxied to the runway, but before we departed, the aircraft immediately returned to the gate. Now, these are one of those moments where it may be inconvenient to be delayed, but it's essential to remember that we must have empathy and compassion for others, as the safety of air travel always goes first, above convenience. Unlike some folks who say that empathy is weakness, when really that couldn't be further from the case. On board I chose curry. It was not that bad. Sorry I did not record breakfast. I slept through it because I was too tired. Anyways, the in-flight entertainment was alright. I'm sure they had a variety of films and games. However, it was older, it wasn't a touchscreen, and to control it you had to use the remote. And when you would press on the buttons, they would make a bit of an annoying squeaky sound. But it wasn't too bad. It didn't seem to bother anyone on board, as it didn't bother me. I love the fact that the Dreamliner has large windows, and I appreciate the window dimmers. However, what I don't like about them is that the flight attendants sometimes automatically dim them to the lowest setting like they did in flight shortly after takeoff. However, what I do like about that is that if you're flying throughout the day and if it's super bright out, and if you want to look out the window, you can still see the wing view and the view without sacrificing the sunlight getting in and bothering the passengers. Would I prefer that over the traditional window blinds? Frankly, I am not so sure, but I definitely appreciate the invention where you can still look out the window without sacrificing the sunlight of bothering passengers. This flight was honestly pretty comfortable. The legroom was actually better than it was on the A350. However, the A350 had wider seats only by 0.1 inches, according to Seat Guru, so that's 17.6 inches. Both aircraft are insanely quiet, they're very spacious. The A350, of course, felt more spacious since I was seated in an aisle seat. Last time I did a full flight review on the A350, but I've also sat on the window of an A350. Personally, they're both spacious, I can't compare them. But I think on long haul flights, I would probably prefer the A350 since it has a wider cabin. It's also quieter, and the seats are also wider since it's a wider cabin. Because the Dreamliner was originally meant to be in a 242 configuration with 18-inch wide seats. Japan Airlines and ANA operate those birds with that configuration, but airlines chose profit over comfort, so most airlines operate Dreamliners with 17-inch seats, 17.5-inch seats, anywhere between that. But personally, they're not too bad. I obviously prefer 18-inch seats, but these seats are manageable throughout the flight. I also don't use the IFE very much, so of course I may be a bit biased, but personally I would most likely prefer the A350 over the Dreamliner, given that it's a quieter aircraft and that the seats are wider, but that's just my bias. If you like looking out the window seat a lot, enjoying the views, but if you don't want to bother passengers when the light penetrates throughout the window, the Boeing 787 is your aircraft to pick.
Heathrow, please follow the yellow signs for arrivals.